right? How to implement logistic regression in R. Now let's take a look at this. This is my R Studio. So this one I import all the necessary packages. At this one, don't worry. But when it comes to R, the Caret package is the one is used in the case of implementing the machine learning model. Okay, but still, whatever the one I showed you so far, right? It is not; those were not part of Caret package. The LM function, you remember, as part of linear regression, I used LM function. That is not part of Caret, but still, with LM function and non-Caret related the functions that are available in R to fit the model, right? It gives us the exhaustive information about the model. That is the reason why I use this one. Anyhow, we'll take a look at Caret later point in time. Look here, I'm using these data files and then finally I'm creating a training and test data set. Ignore all these steps here, and the next one is I'm going to fit the model. I'm using a function called GLM. When it comes to linear regression model, LM, you don't have to use G, right? There is a function called LM function. The first argument is suppose dependent variable, tilde, dot if you give, it will include all the independent variable. Since it is a logistic regression, I have used a function called GLM. This function is, you can use this function to fit the or train the logistic regression model. Provided that, right, GLM function, similar to linear regression model, first argument you are supposed to use the dependent variable, tilde, followed by the tilde, I just put dot. That means include all the independent variables. Use the training data set. Next one is, you need to specify this without fail in R, family equal to binomial. That means binomial logistic regression. You need to build a binomial logistic regression based on the training data set. If you don't specify this, if you exclude this one, if you don't specify, still it will fit the linear regression model only. It will try to fit the linear regression model. Our objective is not linear regression. We need to fit the logistic regression. Hence, you need to specify it explicitly. Look here, I specified it explicitly. Fine. The next one is summary fit. Look here. This is to the options width, right? So that is to see the output without wrapping it to the next line. The console, right? It will allocate more space here. Look here. So similar to linear regression, it shows the residuals, 5-number summary of the residuals, and for each and every in features, it shows the estimated log odds value. These are the estimated the log odds. The slope, see, for the total day minutes column, the slope value is this one. But these are all in terms of log odds. Log odds, okay? Look at here, international number customer service calls. Let us take this one, right? The odds ratio of this one. There is a 1 unit increase in the calls from the customer can lead to the chances of the customers leaving my business is 0.514 log odds. Now the question is, how do I understand this in terms of probability? We know very well, we are very much comfortable with interpreting the probability values. If the probability value is somewhat closer to 1, that means there is a higher chances the customer will leave. If the value is close to 0, there is a lesser chance the customer will leave my business. But here it is not in terms of probability, it is in terms of log odds ratio. So then how do I convert this to probability? We discussed in the last session. So you need to take the exponentiation of this one, 0.514 and 516. This gives you 1.672. This is your odds ratio, 1.672219 divided by 1 plus odds ratio to probability. Odds, you need to use this formula, odds ratio divided by 1 plus odds ratio, 1.672219, 0.62. There is a one one call, there is a 1 unit increase in the call. Let's say the customer made already 5 calls. If they make additional call, right, each and every call, the probability is 0.62. There is a 1 unit increase in the, or there is a there is an increase in one customer call. The chances of the customer is going to leave my business is 0.62 probability. Now you understood, right? This is what they will expect you. Fine, this is the standard error. If I'm given various sample data, so what is the chances that it is going to be 0.62 probability only? If I use different data set to train my model, there will be some variation. That's where standard error. Standard is used in terms of finding the confidence interval, isn't it? So next one is p-value, and same as this. Look here, of all these variable, the forget about intercept, look at this one, the customer service call and international plan. Only these two columns are helpful in terms of predicting the customer churn. Rest of the columns are not helpful. Very easier, right? Even though here this guy in Python, when I used this stats models, it shows everything, but you need to look at manually. The p-value is, in fact, confidence interval also it gives. You need to look at here, right? So customer service calls is, the p-value is less than alpha, then it is significant. But 0.14 total international calls and customer service calls, these two. What about this one? International calls. International plan and customer service as per that data, right? Because that's what one guy asked. Satya, in Python, I am getting some columns as, see in this case, international calls 0.01. International calls is, the p-value is 0.01. That means p is less than alpha. Alpha is 0.05, right? 0.014 less than 0.05. Obviously, it is less than that one, right? Hence, this is significant. And rest of them are, look here, this one, night calls also helpful. And this column also helpful. And yeah, this one also helpful. Total day call. As per this, it tells more than two independent variables are helpful to predict my target variable churn. But when I use or, obviously, because here we are randomly drawing the sample, the training data set randomly draws. If you want the same data, right, then what you do is you store the training data in a CSV file to your operating system. The test data set also you store it to your operating system, and then read the training and test data set from the operating system to your Python, and then if you fit this, your answers will be similar to this one. Understood, right? Okay, at this moment don't confuse too much. Okay, so as per or, only two variables are helpful in terms of predicting my model. If you include this model, obviously you can see the AAC value here. The AAC value will fall down drastically. That means the lesser the AAC, it is better the model. And you have something called null deviance and residual deviance. Your residual deviance is supposed to be lesser than the null deviance. What is null deviance? If you don't include any independent variables or features in your model, what is the error? After including the features in your model, what is the error? This one is supposed to be less than the null deviance. Most of the time it will be like this only. Okay. Here the Fisher scoring iterations, lesser the iterations, it is better. That means how many number of iterations it took to converge. That means to reduce the error, right? 6 iterations it took to reduce the error. But still, if you include, remove the other variables, but we have step function is available, like linear regression. We can use linear step function. The step function gives us the independent variables which are having higher predictive power. Okay, but my step function, the last one, is supposed to go by the last one. Still, look here, we cannot completely rely on the star also. Whichever column has star, triple star along with it, I told you, right, include only these two columns. That is wrong here. Look here, when you use step function, we have to go by the step function because it combines multiple features. The combination of the features can also make some changes. Look here. It recommends the last one is look here. When I use this one, when I use this one, see, the last one, when I use step function, it will run like anything, right? And finally it will stop. If you just scroll up a little bit, this is the one recommended by my model. If I just copy this, and then if I fit another model, look here, LFT21, okay, and then if I put this one here, and if you fit this new model, because this one was recommended by step function, okay, and if I check the LFT1 dollar AIC, right? Yeah, AIC. If I check the AIC 807. Similarly, let us check the AIC, right, for the previous model, because in this we blindly included all the independent variables. There is 821. Now, after removing certain variables as per step function, we could see that the AIC value got reduced. Lesser the AIC, better the model. Here, how many columns are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns were recommended. In the case of train, str function, let us use str train. 18 columns, right? Out of the 18 columns, how many columns recommended? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My step function tells include only these 7 independent variables in your model, rest of them you remove it. You don't have to type it manually, simply copy paste it here. After which, if you check the AIC has fallen down. And also similarly check the AUC, area under the curve, everything, okay. Look here I use the this one here. Okay, now I apply the model to the test data set. Sorry, I apply to the test data set, and see my model name is LFT. Forget about LFT1, the previous one LFT. Type equal to response. Okay, now pred dot LR1 is holding what value? The predicted probability. If you specify type equal to response, it gives you the predicted probability. Okay, and now what I am going to set the threshold value here. This I did not discuss so far. This is very important. I am going to set the threshold value. See, the pred dot LR1 is holding the predicted value or the predicted probability of churners in the test data set, right? In the test data, for the new test data is the new customers. Let's say new customers. What are the chances that my new customers that are there in the test data set are going to churn? What is the probability, right? So here so that probability is given here. Some customers 0.11, some customers 0.20, some customers 0.416. So now I want to check which all customers are churn with the probability of 0.5 and above. Okay, I am going to define a cutoff here. This is called your cutoff. This is very important. In the interview, they will cutoff or threshold. They use this term. Okay. Next, I am going to check the summary class. Summary gives me, right, false and true. 24 customers are going to churn, right? That means those customers or probability is more than 0.5. 24 customers are there, right? That means less than 0.5 probability, whatever assigned, right? 528 customers are less likely to churn. 24 customers are more likely to churn. That means 0.5 and above probability, I used it. So now what I am going to do is, what you can do is, look here, I have used, this is what actual, I don't want to see 0.5 and above, right? 0.5, let's say a customer is Rishik. As per my model, customer is going to, Rishik is my customer, he is going to walk out of my business. Then what is the probability he is going to walk out of my business? 0.5 probability. That means either he may walk out, he may not walk out. Let's take for example Swati, right? What is the probability Swati may walk out of my business? If the probability is 0.7 or 0.8 and 0.9, then the chances are very high she may leave my business. And also, take for example in the case of employees in a company, we wanted to retain the potential employees. Because of them only we are getting more projects. In that case, if I put 0.5, right, the predicted probability, those employees probability is 0.9 and above, or 0.5 and above. That in that case, right, whether the employee is a good performer or ordinary performer, still you are going to filter everyone, right? All we need is, see, forget about good performer or non-performer. All I can do is, if I get to know which all employees are more likely to leave, in that case I can contact only those employees and I can tell them, boss, don't leave my company and I'll give you salary hike. But if you specify 0.5 and above, consider as churners, what will happen? The number of employees will be very high in your data set. So in that case, do you think you can give promotion and salary hike to 50% of your employees? No, right? You cannot give that much. All you want to do is you want to check those customers are more likely to leave. Then I'm going to consider them as one churner. This is where I define I'm defining the cutoff year only. This is the cutoff value. Okay. Those customers or employees, the assigned probability is 0.9 and above, I consider them as a churner. Rest of them I'm going to consider non-churner. Full stop. Next, this value I'm going to pass it as an argument to a function called confusion matrix. This confusion matrix function is available as part of caret package. And positive equal to, what is positive equal to 1? We are interested in churners. 1 is churner, 0 is non-churner. And then test data set, right? We are plotting that. Now let us check the confusion matrix. It gives us this confusion. Look here, it's pretty decent, right? So 0. False positive is actually 66 customers are non-churner, but my model wrongly predicted false positive 66. But here false negative is 0. At least this one is 0, right? So in this case, none of the customers are wrongly predicted as churner. Okay. So, but accuracy is 0.88, somewhat closer to 1 inch, it is good, and capacity is 0.05, but this is not there in agreement with the reference table. And sensitivity and specificity, yes, we need to use that formula. Okay, and fine. Okay, now you understood how to implement the model, logistic regression model OR. Up to this, if you know as of now, that is more than sufficient. Apart from this, I will discuss about gain chart next week with this example itself. Okay, and even in Python we have some package that is built-in package that is already available. Apart from this, we have something else called imbalanced data set. Okay, we'll discuss that in the next week end session, and that's all. Okay, and next weekend, this is what we are going to discuss. We are going to continue from the metrics whatever we discussed as part of the goodness of it. We are going to continue from there, like the gain chart and lift chart. We are going to take a look at it, and then we will work on the imbalanced data set. In the case of imbalanced data set, how are we going to deal with it? And then we will see, since our data is imbalanced in this case, we cannot rely on accuracy. You understood? If the data is imbalanced, you cannot rely on accuracy. I quoted that one also, right, in the goodness of it measure. Even when you look at this one also, right, even in this case also, you cannot rely on both your true positive and false positive, or your true positive is 0. In that case also you cannot rely on accuracy. Okay, if the data is imbalanced and if the true positive also 0, then something wrong. Okay, because we are interested in predicting the positive only, but if that itself 0, that's something wrong. Since this data set is imbalanced, we cannot rely on accuracy. Hence, we are supposed to rely on so this one, sorry, the precision and recall. Okay, that we will see how to address the imbalanced data set. And also, before we understand what is imbalanced data set, how to address them, we'll look at the gain chart also, how to interpret the gain chart. With the gain chart, what kind of insight we can get it, those kind of things we will discuss it. And if possible, we'll continue the decision tree also in the upcoming weekend. Any questions so far? I have been talking continuously in the for the last few sessions. If you have any questions, you just ask me now. Good that I am able to complete well ahead of the schedule. I thought of covering gain chart and lift chart today itself because I don't want to overwhelm you by covering so many topics in one session. Many of them missed out, or maybe due to working day. Fine, we will circle back next weekend since I don't see any questions. But please watch my videos and start practice it in R and Python side by side. It is I'm telling next 3 to 4 weekends, if you attend the session and if you understand that's all. Don't think machine learning is unlimited. It has unlimited topics. No. It has a limited topics only. See here at the max, right? But the same techniques, the confusion matrix ROS is common for almost all the classification algorithm, neural network, support, everything. It is same only. You don't have to remember so many things. That is why learning machine learning is not a rocket science. It will not require too many days to learn, but if you follow the tips and tricks and if you recall all these concepts whatever I covered so far, that is more than sufficient. Okay, anyhow, I will explain the case study next week and also the imbalanced data set, how to deal with imbalanced gain chart, lift chart. Followed by that, we'll jump into the decision tree. Okay, since you don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up the session. We'll share the video as usual later, and the script and data file also I'll upload it in my new GitHub folder. Okay, I'll share the link. You can download it and start practice it. Okay, have a good day. Bye bye. Take care.